What is going on, my good people? It is time for the monthly ranking. We're talking about the games that we have played in September. Loon is joining me here today to do some ranking. How are you feeling, my friend?
Yeah, it was. I started off very strong this month and then stalled big time. Like I had a bunch of really quick clears, and then I've been playing nothing but one game for like the past 2.5 weeks. It feels like.
Yeah, I kind of in a decent little groove. I finished a few games. I don't think last month I finished much of anything. Um, but yeah, finished Just Cause, finished Cronos, finished Metal Gear Solid 3. So, oh, I finished Heading Out as well. So yeah, all four of these games that we're going to talk about I finished today. So shit, yeah, I am pumped to get into it with you, and I see that we both have MGS3 here on the docket as a game, as a title that we both finished. So if you want to go ahead, we can kick it off with the third solid of the Snake series. Um, so
How did you feel about it
that's the
overall?
thing
Did
is
you feel
like,
like it was a good enough like showing from them? Because it's the type like I saw it when it obviously released. There was a lot of people that were unhappy about its price point, how much they've done. Does it really need a remake? That whole the usual 9 yards. Because I was actually really happy with it.
yeah, I like it as well, and I think that it kind of comes down to the technical side of things, you know, where it's it seems like people who were playing on, you know, PC, they it seems like they had a lot of issues with it, you know, when playing on PC, and it seems like even PS5 Pro had quite a lot of issues. I didn't have that many issues with it. Like, it's definitely in terms of, like, there's frame rate dippage, there's pop in, there are noticeable things like that throughout the experience. I think everybody's going to notice that stuff, but it wasn't like it didn't impact my enjoyment to really any significant degree. Like, sure, whenever you're on the motorcycle towards the end of the game, like, yeah, it that damn thing tanks in terms of frame rate. I mean, it's barely cracking double digits, I would assume, at certain points during that section. And it looks muddy and gross. And, like, yeah, all of those things are true. But that's 0.01% of the game. You know what I mean? The rest of the game. Like, I don't think it's mind blowingly beautiful or anything like that. Like, I don't think it's, you know, when you look at. Here's the thing, there's like calibers. There's Resident Evil 2, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. That is like top tier in terms of like the remake space, like what you can expect from a remake. You don't get really better than that. That's like almost a brand new experience entirely. This is Metal Gear Solid 3. This is the game you played on the PS2, but with a more approachable camera perspective that is, you know, standard for what people expect in a third person shooter in 2025. Um, so yeah, I like Metal Gear Solid 3 when I played it in 2005 or 2004, and I like it in 2025. But it doesn't do anything to like it's like Mafia the Definitive Edition or something on that caliber. It's like a great remake that
Mm.
is extremely faithful. So if you like the source material, if you liked the game back in the day, you're gonna probably like this one as well. But it's not like a, you know, from the ground. I mean, it is a from the ground up remake, but it's not like Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy 7 are totally different, like game changing remakes. This isn't really that, and like I'm kind of glad it isn't really that.
That's what I was gonna say. It's the type of thing of where it didn't need particularly all that much changing. All it needed was for somebody like me giving me the ability to play it, and it doesn't feel frustrating to play. That is it. That's all that needs to happen. And if they can work that out for MGS2 and MGS1, then happy days. Because it's you can see like obviously some of the writing feels a bit weird. Like it's just his style, the way he portrays stuff across and stuff like that. Like it's not, you don't get stories written like this anymore, really. Um, but they don't need to change anything because it's just like a timeless classic. Like the stuff that it's touching on is epic, is probably the word I'd use. And it's just, it doesn't need to be changed in any way, shape, or form. Like I can't think of any part of that game that needed to be stretched out further. Like everything, it's just really well paced as
It
well.
is.
Like, because I get it's the, because it's broken up into these like little tiny sections, and you are going into loading screens a lot and stuff like that to get to the different areas and stuff. But I don't know if they would have made them areas like significantly bigger, it would have detracted from it big time. Like it doesn't need to be some massive Goliath. It doesn't need to be MGS5 when you're going into Afghanistan and it takes you 40 minutes to just do one tiny little objective and then
Exactly.
it's just really well thought out.
Well, and it's like with the loading screens, that's certainly one of the things where it's like, yeah, that's, it is 2025. Some of that stuff probably could have been removed in a remake, but at the same time, it's like everybody's mileage is going to vary on how nitpicky and how, much certain things bother them or whatever. I don't mind. Like, dude, I grew up playing. If you played PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 wrestling games, the loading screens, like, I still play those games. And it's loading screens galore nonstop. I don't know. I'm not excusing it. Like, certain things like that, sure. It's a modern AAA big budget remake. You probably can get rid of the damn loading screens. Like I don't think that that's some technical. I don't think that that would be some mind blowing technical work to remove the loading screens from this game. Like once again, and not to keep on harping back to this, but you look at something like Resident Evil 2, there was a loading screen in between every single door you entered and exited, every stair that you climbed, and all of that was removed in the remake. This isn't on par with that, and so that's kind of the thing of like how I'm trying to view it as we're going to rank it, as we're going to, where are we going to place this on the tier list. Like, I love Metal Gear Solid 3. It's not my favorite Metal Gear Solid though. 2 is my favorite, and then 1 after that, and then 3. So it's
Okay.
already not like it. Base game is probably an A tier game to me, something like that. I don't know if it maybe even an S tier. But it's like lower end of that S tier, high up on the A tier, whatever. And this I have much, 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 much less appreciation for than the original. Not like once again, I would probably go back to this before I go back to the original. I think it just plays so much better with the new camera perspective and all of that. But it's it doesn't do anything that's like there's nothing about this game whatsoever that is like, oh my god, I can't believe it. It's like, oh yeah, that is kind of exactly what they should have did, and maybe
Mm.
less than they should have did a lot of the time. But hey, it's still a good game. It's kind of my overall takeaway.
Yeah. I'm in the boat of I'd prefer them to do less personally because when they try and rock the boat and stuff like that, that's when you really do begin to upset people. Is if they were to make sweeping changes and yeah, it especially with him no longer being there and the whole Fallout thing, like it was good that they kept it simple. Don't try to step on a rake. There's no point because the ceiling, the upside of that is so lower than just playing it simple. So I'm happy with what they've done. Um, and yeah, it was interesting that I think they put out like a survey thing, right? Very shortly
Hmm.
after being like, what do you want next? So it's nice that they're listening as well. Like they're like, that did well enough. We'll happily do another one if you want. Um, they've been on a really good hot streak, Konami,
Dude, no
because
shit.
it's not on the list, I don't think, because you haven't played it yet, and I've only played like 2 hours of it. But Silent Hill F is incredible.
Yeah, I can't wait to go pick that up tomorrow.
Hmm. So I'm very happy with how they're handling Metal Gear because they
Hmm.
seem to be just playing it safe there, and then with Silent Hill F, like they I actually really like the changes that they've made to like how the game just feels. I don't know. That's the thing. maybe this is how Silent Hill 2 remake felt to play. I don't know. I didn't play it. But from what I'm playing, it's a really good, really solid Silent Hill game.
Yeah, Silent Hill 2 was amazing. The remake, Deliver at All Costs, was amazing. They got Darwin's Paradox that's coming out that's looking pretty damn good, like an Inside Limbo style game. So they're like returning to the classics, remaking those, making new entries in these classic franchises, and releasing new IP. It's like, it does kind of feel like a Konami renaissance. So I am
Mm.
very, very much on board for that. I am not expecting that to remain the case. I always kind of, I'm like, at any moment here, we're gonna have a full blown meltdown. But for the time
To be
being, I'm gonna embrace it.
to be fair though, Capcom was kind of in that little rut for a while. Like they didn't feel like they weren't firing on all cylinders as good as they could have done with like when Resident Evil 5 and 6 and stuff like that. Like there was a lot of animosity towards like the IP and stuff like that. Whereas now it's pretty universal. People are happy with what Capcom's doing. Hopefully Konami can just follow in that footsteps
Mm,
because I still like yeah they put them little multiplayer spin-off games out and stuff like that, but their mainline stuff that they've put out is phenomenal for RE.
yeah, no, and it is like you look at Konami's rut, and that was probably like what, a 11 year, 12 year rut, something like that, 10 year rut. Capcom was probably 6 7 years. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely some similarities there for sure. They, both let what were once, prosperous and great franchises kind of linger, or even worse, just put out bad games inside of those franchises. So yeah,
Mhm.
I hope that they can get back into the good graces and keep releasing great games and funding new games. That's even more important to me. It's like, keep making shit like Silent Hill F, and keep making stuff like Deliver at All Costs and Darwin's Paradox, and like just new things.
Also want to give credit as well because of what was linked. That is the RE spin-off games with Resistance and Reverse. That dev is who made Silent Hill. F. I don't know if you knew
Mm.
that.
You
Like
told
that's
me that.
incredible. Like I'm liking that as well. This is beginning to happen more and more often with like Bloober getting a little bit bigger for a budget, and look what they can accomplish with that, and like allowing them to spread their wings, and then they get like because there was so when I was looking through it, because I wanted to know who they were when I was playing, I was like, man, this is a really good. Is this Bloober again? Like, did they get no? Okay, I was like, who is this? Looked it up, and there was like Reddit posts from like 8 months ago, people being like, why have they handed it to these people?
Mm.
This is their previous work. And it's like, of course, in that moment, you're like, oh, I don't know if they can pull it off. But like, this is what happens when you're given something that you're passionate about as well. 'Cause that's what it feels like with Silent Hill. Earth. They were very passionate about it. It just oozes atmosphere.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think you're gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah, I can't wait to jump into it, man. I've had my fill of survival horror recently with another great title that we'll talk about here in a second, but I am definitely yearning for a little bit more Spooktober vibes as we head into that season. But
Mm.
before we get into the spooky shit, let's talk about a placement for MGS3, the remake here. I would personally drop it in. I mean, I don't know. I think B or A. I'll probably go. I'll. I'll. I mean, I think that's an A tier game for me. Like, I like playing Metal Gear Solid 3 in this fashion. I don't have anything really elaborate to say that's like, I can't throw a whole bunch of praise its way that is anything other than like, I just like the original game, and this is a cool way to play the original game. Like, this is kind of how I wanted Resident Evil 2 remake to be made. So like, once again, I know that's not a insightful take, but I just like playing the game this way.
Yeah, for me, it would have been an S tier because it's the type of thing of like you've allowed me to play it in the way that because I adore Metal Gear Solid 5's gameplay, just the way that that plays, and this is very similar. Like it's a little bit more restricted in the
Yeah,
movement and stuff. Like it's not as fluid as I would have hoped,
which is
but
crazy.
but it's a hell of a lot better to play it in this way than the original for me. Because that's the thing is when I was getting through when they did the 360 HD collection and then that recent Master Collection, I don't want to be sitting there through something that's great and tolerating something to that degree. Like that's what I was feeling when I was playing them HD collections is that I'm tolerating that gameplay to get to the
Hmm.
greatness.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just it's just fun. So I'll drop it into the A as well. If they could have made that really smooth and just it's unfortunate that, it's Unreal. There's just teething issues across the board for a lot of people using it. Um, if they didn't have them teething issues, I think I would have placed it in S, personally.
Yeah. So we got two A's on the board for the old Delta, and I'll let you head into another game. If there's anything on the board here that you feel strongly about ranking out the gate, we can go ahead and get into that.
Um, I'll dive into Assassin's Creed 1. Um, I don't know if I've ever said this on the chat. I've never finished Assassin's Creed 1. It
Oh,
was the
really?
only mainline Assassin's Creed game I never beat because I hadn't been exposed to the series properly until Black Flag got added to Games of Gold on the 360. And then I kind of went back, did the other ones. But when I came back to one, it feels archaic. Um, and it was that kind of thing of like, I gotta finish this at some point. Like I know everything that happens in this game, being a big Assassin's Creed nerd. I know everything that transpires in the game, but like just play it yourself. And I gotta say, I really miss. I don't know how you'd like word this. White Light just did a video on um talking about like remasters and stuff like that, and how when you look back at it, they try and push realism and they end up losing like the artistic side of it. Because what he was using as a comparison was Batman Returns to Arkham and putting them side by side. And the newer games look shinier and stuff, but there's a lot that you lose by doing that. Like atmosphere, grunge, and just the dirtiness and the feeling of all of that and just imperfections of what the art was originally. And you definitely get that a little bit with like the Ezio collection and stuff like that, and the other ones that they did with Assassin's Creed 3. Because when I was playing through, because what the big complaint that we have is the lip syncing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of modern Ubisoft games and stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's not S tier in like Assassin's Creed 1, but I actually felt like there was more expressions being made. It was more artistic with the way they used models and stuff like that back then, is that they were limited, but it's the type of thing when you have a limitation, you end up stretching it and making things work rather than, oh, well, that limitation isn't there, so we can just make everything look the same. I don't know, it had a really nice style that I do miss from the AC games.
Yeah.
Like the character designs, just even just the look of the environments and stuff like that. Like they look fairly good considering it's like what 2006 7 game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very
2007.
old. Um, but yeah, other than that, it's not incredible as like a game by itself. There's probably a big reason as to why they've not remastered this. They remastered every single other one, and they've kind of just left that to the wayside. Um, you could definitely tell this was like an experimental title. This was them dipping their toe into something new back in the day. Um, like all the mission structure is you're doing side quests to then progress. Like that is the entirety of the game. So you go to a city, you go to a viewpoint, you sync it, it then spawns a bunch of like pickpocket missions, listen missions, beat people up missions and stuff like that to then find out little tiny little bits of information about your target, and then you can decide whether or not you can like get four out of like the eight, for instance, and just do it. But each time that you get an extra piece, it kind of gives you like a little clue, like he leaves his bedroom door open and stuff like that, that kind of crap. So that's kind of lacking from the newer AC games. They kind of just don't really do that anymore. It's just, do it your way. So there is a bit of like flavor missing. But yeah, I gotta say it was by the end of it, it was getting kind of because it you go to Jerusalem and stuff like that, and then they make you go back there again and then back there again. Like you have to do the I think each region is about 3 times each, and like it's not a particularly long game, but it does get kind of tiresome. So it is nice that they did switch it up in the way they did with AC2. But I appreciate what they were trying with AC1.
Yeah, and I mean, we're in this kind of rumor mill right now about Black Flag and potential remakes that could be happening there, and them going a little bit more into the RPG focus for Black Flag and that combat system and just that entire structure. And I do like, I wonder, are they going to just do a full blown remake of one where they kind of change a lot of the bones of that game as well, um, to kind of remedy some of those frustrations, complaints, or just kind of, I don't know, lackluster mission design, stuff like that.
It's also just the fact of it is such a short game.
Mm,
There's not a lot of meat in Assassin's Creed 1 like there was in every other game. Like it's very, very short. Because all I was doing was mainlining it. Like, don't get me wrong, you can do like little side stuff, but like even the side stuff that you're doing is not engaged. Like you don't want to do it. It's not
yeah.
interesting. It's like, yeah, we've randomly spawned 50 Templars in the world. You'll randomly bump into them, and then there's 50 flags in each of these things and stuff like that. And you have like people who are giving you missions, and it's just running, and you're running, collecting flags for like a checkpoint in when you're doing the free running and stuff. It's like you could definitely, it was the type of thing where they put that in there to showcase at the time, like, look at this amazing free running system that only exists in this game,
Yeah.
which it's not going to wow people now. They're going to be like, okay, cool. And that's the thing of, I don't know like what you could remake in one. You'd have to basically rip it up from the roots and do everything from the bottom all the way back up to the top, and just maybe even rewrite parts of the game. Um, but the story itself was alright. So it's a pretty decent like entry point into the series because it shows that like the assassins aren't perfect beings and stuff like that. There's a very good like moral of the story kind of thing because you start off as like a top ranking assassin, and you're very full of yourself, and you get people killed and you get stripped of everything. That's why you have to work your way back up. Like it's a good story in that sense when you get to the end, and it's just like, no, I can kind of see there's a lot of BS being pulled here, a lot of wool over the eyes. So
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
remember at the time, like, people were like really, really hot on this when it came out because it was, you're talking about really like a Grand Theft Auto styled open world, but for like a stealth game, for, playing as an assassin, playing as someone that's kind of trying to, obviously, as you're seeing on the screen, there is upfront sword fights and in your face kind of combat, but it's a lot of trying to stay hidden in the shadows and all that. And it's like, it's more about, as you're seeing once again, the movement, the traversal, the climbing, all of that, and the parkour systems opposed to the vehicles. And it was a different, this really was never done like this when Assassin's Creed 1 came out. So it was definitely fresh. At the time it was very, very fresh. So yeah, I
And it had the great allure as well as the what made it stand out even more is that the fact that they had that modern timeline thing, and they hadn't done anything like there's a lot of people who feel like they've ruined it now with what they chose the avenues they went down in later games and stuff like that. But when they introduced it, it is really interesting.
yeah.
When it's like, oh, it's okay, it's a game about being in like ancient Jerusalem and stuff like that, back in like the Knights Templar order, and then it pulls you back into the real world. And it's like, okay, there's more to this. And there's this intrigue bubbling underneath the surface and stuff like that, and you see things happening every time, every so often you get ripped out of the animus, and there's like you can things are happening while you're in there and stuff like that, and there's a nice tug of war. So yeah, it's a tough title to recommend anybody go back and be like, yeah, definitely go give it a go because it's definitely very, very aged, but it's it's the series beginning, so it's always going to be special in that sense.
Where, where would you
Where
rank
should I
that bad
rank
boy?
it?
Yeah.
It would probably, for me personally, sit in C because there is a lot of stiffness in the movement and stuff like that, and the combat isn't as fluid as it could be, like it is in later entries and stuff. But it's a really good beginning for them.
Yeah. I need to go back and play through it. Because I remember there were rumors about a remake a while, not a while ago, like a year or two ago, and I was like, okay, well, like I jumped into a little bit of Assassin's Creed One a while back, and I was like, it's once again, if I was there day one, I probably would have had a lot more appreciation for it. But playing it years later, it's like, well, this isn't, and that's the thing that I always talk about of like, it is somewhat important to be there when it's fresh, when it's new, because like going back years later for the first time, you're like, well, I've seen this 100 other times, but when Assassin's Creed One came out, you hadn't seen it at all. So shout out.
You also just have that built-in tolerance as well, right? Because what I'm thinking of is like what I'll draw the similar like parallel to me is like if you were to hand somebody Mass Effect 1
Mm-hmm.
on the 360 and they'd be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yep.
And it's like, "No, it's amazing. Love it. Love the elevator rides." It's and the weird physics-based tanks. Like it's the type of thing like you had to be there kind of
Mm.
thing so that you could build up that tolerance for it. So when you go back, it's like, oh no, it's not that bad. But yeah, it's a big ask for people.
Yeah. Completely agree. I think that way about a lot of games from the PS1 era, especially PS1 and
Mm.
64 when they're just starting to figure out 3D. It's like, oh boy, it's a tall task to go back to a lot of those. But I'll tell you what is not a tall task to jump into, and that is Chronos: The New Dawn. Um,
Mm.
this is one of the best survival horror games in years and years and years. This thing fucking rules, dude. And I like it's one of those things where I didn't really have any expectation one way or the other going
Mm.
into it. Like I was sure it would be fine, you know. But I was like, okay, well, they're funding this themselves. There's no Konami money backing it. Like, is it going to be a little bit more budget? Is it going to be a little bit more janky? It plays a whole hell of a lot like Silent Hill 2, the remake. And it's very hard. I much
Oh,
harder than Silent Hill 2, the remake, much harder than any Dead Space game ever, much harder than any Resident Evil game ever. There's no difficulty settings or anything like that, so you're gonna play the game the way they intended you to play the game, and then if you wanna play it on a different difficulty after the game, have fun. You get to play it on a harder setting, and it's like they're
that's
intending this to,
bold.
yeah, it
That's really bold.
probably not wise because the game doesn't seem to be selling well at all. Which it came out the same day as fucking Hell is Us and Silk Song, which
Mm.
Hell is Us isn't selling well either. But I, we can get into that conversation a little bit just about the. I think you are shooting yourself in the foot unless you are that guy and you know you're that guy. Like if you're FromSoft, fuck yeah, do whatever the fuck you want because you've earned it. But unless you have proven that you're that guy, man, oh man, making these games like Hell is Us and Chronos: The New Dawn, where it's like you're gonna play it the way we want you to. It's like, all right, I people chose not to play it, but once again, there's so many different factors on that. I just don't think limiting yourself in any area when you're making an expensive game like this makes much sense. But hey, I will say if you are somebody who is like, hey, I've played the Resident Evils and I've played the Dead Spaces and I've played the Silent Hills and I want something that's on par with that but more challenging, like I genuinely think this game is as good as like it's not RE4 remake. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not on that level. It might not be on Silent Hill 2 remakes level, but it's better than almost any other modern horror game from the last 10 years. It's better than those. It's better than any game that's not those two. Like this is, when did Evil Within 2 come out? That was 2017, so throw Evil Within 2 in there as well. But I actually think there's a lot of comparison points for the Evil Within 1. Like the Evil Within 1 is really, really hard. really
Mm.
fucking hard. I do think the Evil Within one has difficulty settings
Yeah,
though.
it does.
It does. Okay. But on the normal difficulty setting, the Evil Within one is really hard. And it's like it's very hard in the opening of the Evil Within one. And then the
Mm.
later game is fine. And that's a lot of what Chronos is. The opening is like brutal. And then later it's totally fine. Totally reasonable. Um I shouldn't say totally fine, totally reasonable. It's always pretty hard, but it you can
It
get
gets a
through it.
little bit more manageable because I'm assuming they give you extra tools and stuff because it is like an inventory-based system as well, right?
Yeah, and it is very limiting in terms of the resources that you're given. More often than not, you're walking around with a pistol that has 6 bullets, and you're happy if it has 6 bullets. You're often walking around with 2, 3 bullets and shit. Um, and we'll get to a section here in the gameplay where you see me. I charge up my shot, dome the enemy. He doesn't drop, and I mean I shoot. I think I shot the motherfucker in the head. He doesn't drop, keeps coming. And I'm like, I just take off running. And so that was kind of my strategy, and that's why I think that. And here's another thing I will say is like the game might be easier for me later in the game than it is for a lot of people because I didn't shoot anything early in the game, so I was just full of fucking ammo later in the game. I was just running past every enemy that I could early on because I was like, I'm shooting these motherfuckers in the head and they're not dying. So I'm done trying to shoot you because you're depleting my resources. And I know at some point, like, if you have that survival horror brain, you're like, okay, well, at some point, I know I'm going to run into the boss. The boss is going to kick my ass. It's going to be a bullet sponge. I'm going to need to have the extra ammunition. So I was just stockpiling ammunition and avoiding the standard enemies to prepare for the bosses, which the bosses are brutal as well. But it's,
Mm.
it's just such a atmospheric, like, in the story is what really surprised me. It's very Remedy coded. It's got a lot of Remedy DNA in it. A lot of those like pulsating red, sort of the red that just like overwhelms the screen. If this weird sort of esoteric kind of vibe going on, and then it goes into the quick slice FMV cuts and the really disturbing imagery, and it's got a lot of that. Just it's not even necessarily super scary. It's just got a lot of that Remedy esque creepy
It's
horror.
just unsettling.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
So, I recommend this thing to any survival horror fan out there.
Yeah, I ended up ordering it alongside Silent Hill because we're doing a horror event in Discord next month. So I wanted some like newer titles to be sprinkled in there. But it's kind of unfortunate that they both that and Hell is Us decided to stand on that release date. It probably would have just been wiser to move it anyway, either forward or back, because that's definitely hindering it. And also, them both, they're kind of, they're not obviously same genre as it were, but like third person kind of doing that stuff. It's there are like crossover parallels to the stuff where one person will just buy one over the other as well. It's just a very weird. We've seen this quite a lot this year with the release schedule being so packed.
Yeah.
Some are cannibalizing each other, and some end up surviving that cannibalization. Others seem to really sink. So hopefully this doesn't hit Bloober extremely hard, because it'd be really unfortunate for them to have made Silent Hill 2 remake, pumped a lot of budget into that. This doesn't sell, and then they're back to square one almost, or they're
Mm.
having to go and partner with somebody else. They can't self-publish for the next thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
It's kind of the funny thing where it's not funny. It's a bummer, but I gotta admit the reality is like I kind of wonder how much the physical release negatively impacted Hell is Us and Chronos the New Dawn, where they can't really delay their game because Hollow Knight launched last minute. They had already
Mm.
had those physical copies printed, were in the process of getting those shipped out. You're gonna how At that point you can't really delay that fucking thing, and so it's like, yeah, it's because if it was digital only, it's like they probably could have delayed it. I don't want to even throw that out there into the ether, and you know, seems like I'm damning my own preferred media format, but it's just the reality. Is like I think physical media, in wanting to commit to that space for the day one release, like, and which hell, Chronos: The New Dawn, it was kind of a weird one because its physical release wasn't day and date in the U.S., but it was in the U.K. and in Japan, I think. Um, so yeah, I do just wonder about that though. Like, if it was digital only, would it have at that point when they knew Hollow Knight was launching, would they have just been like, all right, well, just push it a couple weeks, or maybe push it a week forward,
Mm.
whatever, because we've seen that in the past.
Yep.
But yeah, man, it's a fucking great video game, god tier sound design, which is that's standard for survival horror. Like, I don't think anybody is really survival horror. You gotta have the fleshy sounds. You gotta have, when you're blasting a fucking enemy in the head, you gotta have the fleshy sounds when that shotgun shell hits the enemy's dome. You gotta have the creepy cries of the zombies, and the like, all of the whenever you're walking on the wood panel, it's just a differing sound from whenever you're walking on the tile, or whenever you're, all of that stuff is like, it's expected within this genre, but it's still done really, really well in Chronos: The New Dawn. And I think that a lot of the comparison to Dead Space early on, like when people were looking at it, and it does obviously have a Dead Space look. You're talking about this sort of weird suit that you're inhabiting, and you're kind of a part of this suit, and you don't necessarily have, like, I guess Dead Space gets a little bit more human throughout the later entries, but Chronos is very, very much not that. Like, Chronos is very, early on at least, it's a very weird sort of vibe where you don't really feel any humanity whatsoever. And but a lot of the comparison to Dead Space, I I think I just way overblown. Like, it's not a lot like Dead Space at all. Like, sure, you got the stomp mechanic that's similar to Dead Space, but other than that, really, and some of the zero gravity stuff, like, I don't really think this. I think it feels a lot more like Silent Hill 2 Remake. I think it almost feels exactly like Silent Hill 2 Remake from a just mechanical standpoint. And, like, I think that that's kind of fucking brilliant to be in the midst of working on Silent Hill 2 Remake, and to, like, as you're seeing, what are we? We're fucking close to 15 minutes into this thing, and there hasn't been a single gunshot fired. Like, it's not an over the top action horror game at all. It's a lot more of, it's a lot more of slow, methodical kind of, just like you were talking about, resource management, inventory management. It's a lot more old school survival horror, and it definitely does have its action elements. And then whenever you get to your boss encounters and shit like that, and there's certain sections where they'll lock the passageway where you can't progress forward unless you kill every enemy in the area. And so things like that, it definitely starts to lean into more of the action horror roots, but it's like, it kind of has an old school survival horror feel. It's very, very slow.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because I'm going to be doing a wheel thing to randomize select it. I'm hoping it does land on that, because I do want to get into that. It looked really intriguing. Um, and I'm more curious as well, because I never got the chance to touch Silent Hill 2 Remake. So I want to see what Bloober is capable of when they're not making walking sim based horror games. So
Yeah, and I mean, this is, once again, like, if you're not able to play Silent Hill 2, like, this is a great alternative because it has a lot of that Silent Hill 2 DNA baked into it. Once again, I would still say Silent Hill 2 is the better game. Like, if you have the ability to play Silent Hill 2 the remake, I'd say probably choose that one first, but they're both fucking great options. And yeah, god tier survival horror games. I would go. I'll throw this at the top of the A tier. It would be ahead of Metal Gear Solid 3 for me. Not that we don't typically rank these things in order, but it's not quite like an S tier video game, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely high A range for me. Like if I was putting a review on this thing, it would definitely be like a 8.7, 8.8, maybe even closing in on that 9 range. So, yeah. A tier faux me, faux show.
Cool.
So,
Um,
whatever you want to talk
the
about next, man.
Yeah, this won't be a very long one. I don't have particularly positive things to talk about on this. When I was scrolling through games earlier in the month, I wanted to make sure to get some very like quick clears out of the way. When I was scrolling through, I noticed Deadpool, and I was like, oh, I remember like playing a good chunk of it. Like, how far was I like away from finishing it? And it was like a chapter or two. So I was like, I'll wrap that up. I remember why I put it down. I don't really like this game. I don't know how you ended up feeling about it. I don't. Have you played it, the
No,
Deadpool?
well, I think I've played it. I've never finished it or anything.
It kind of surprises me. Like, I know that we don't get particularly that many superhero games and stuff like that aligned anymore. You don't have that like boom craze of making sure there's a movie tie-in game like you did once with like four Iron Man, Captain America, and stuff like that. But this kind of was used to capture on the hype of that Deadpool movie, that first one, if I'm not mistaken. It's incredibly well voice acted, as you would hope for a Deadpool game, but that's about as like far as I can like praise it. Like the thing is if you removed that and you removed the fact that it is Deadpool, it's like a really generic, poorly playing action game. Like it doesn't do anything particularly well. Like the combat doesn't have any weight behind it. Like there's when you look back at like the Wolverine game and stuff, they had meaty, crunchy melee combat. There's none of that in Deadpool. The guns don't feel particularly responsive when you're shooting them. There's no feedback at all. That like in either like the feeling when you're shooting, holding the controller, or when the sound effects hitting the enemy and stuff like that. There's nothing really very good going on there. Um, So yeah, I was like, oh, I remember why I put this down. But it was like so close that I just grit my teeth and bared it and ended up rolling credits. And it was like, yeah, that wasn't a particularly good game, in
Yeah,
my
it's
opinion. Like it's held in a lot higher regard because what I personally feel is like because there's a vacuum, there's an emptiness to superhero games, really. Like you have Batman, Spider-Man. Other than that, there's not really anything else on offer. So that kind of also elevates it a little bit more because there's nothing really else out on the market.
yeah. I kind of I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I never really even liked the Deadpool movies. I thought they were fine.
Mm,
I really liked Guardians, and I liked that style of humor
mm,
much more than I liked Deadpool. Like I think that the priority has to be to make like a compelling plot first, and then good comedy second. And Deadpool was like I could not have possibly cared less about the story, but I did think the humor is funny. I still think some of that humor is pretty funny. But it's like Guardians to me was always character first, story first, and comedy either second or third, whatever. And I think it really benefited from that. But
mm.
Deadpool never quite vibed with me in the same way that Guardians does. Once again, not. It's still a fine movie. I'm not saying it's like I sat there and slogged through it. Like it's funny. You're gonna get a good share of laughs, but it never quite hit the same way for me.
Yeah, and I will give them credit. Like, there are some creative parts in the game where it, like, the whole point of him is he knows that he's in like a form of media,
Hmm.
so he does bend that, with directing it towards the game director and stuff like. So there's that. That's the kind of things that you'd want to see, but like, I don't really understand why this game's so beloved by a lot of people. It's kind of crazy to me. It's like this is really, really generic.
Yeah.
And doesn't do anything particularly well. I don't really understand like and enjoy playing any of it. Like from a gameplay, like I said, perspective, which it's also quite long. It felt like I don't know if that was just because it was so boring, and it
Hmm.
isn't actually that long of a game, but it felt like it dragged to me. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I it also came out in a weird time where like the expectations were so low. Like you said, you had the Arkham games, which were great, but Spider-Man hadn't released at this point, which kind of would go on to like be another one of those Arkham style success stories of like, oh yeah, this is a great fucking superhero game in a world of a lot of mediocre superhero games. And so like it didn't seem like you had to clear that high of a benchmark. And this was an Activision title as well, if I'm not mistaken. And
yep.
so you're talking about in that vein
They just
of,
regurgitated so many things when they had IPs to everything. Like
yep,
it's fine to like the IP, but the amount of like Transformers games that they pushed out and
yep,
stuff like that, like it was crazy.
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of worried about because the rumor is, I mean, this will come out after the state of play, so it's not even really worth mentioning. But the rumor is that Wolverine and Venom are both going to be at that state of play, and it's like, man, Insomniac. I really want that studio to work on more than just Marvel because they also have the X-Men game that's coming like mid 2030s or whatever. It's like, okay, they're nothing but Marvel for a while, and then Ratchet. They got like 50 people working on Ratchet right now, but it's hey,
It's the payment for success, right?
yo,
Because if you're looking at if you're so because they're owned by Sony, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's the thought. Like you've made a hit thing. We have good partnerships with Marvel and stuff like that. You're now the Marvel studio for the most part. That's just how it is, unfortunately.
Did you see that list of the top 20 best-selling PlayStation games of all time? And every Spider-Man, every Insomniac Spider-Man game is on there. Miles, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 1. Fucking crazy, dude. Top 20. All three of them on there.
They're system sellers. They
Mm-hmm.
it's the thing of like not only are they good games. Like personally, I didn't enjoy it, but that's because I don't really care for Spider-Man. But there's no denying its quality as a game. It's the type of thing of it's the perfect harmony of putting it with a popular console
Mm-hmm.
while also the films were doing incredibly well at the time, and it's an extremely recognizable name. So tying that exclusively to your console, like it's just a fucking match made in heaven.
It's interesting. Like, we see the success of PS5, like, in terms of units sold or whatever, and it's like, damn, they Spider-Man Miles Morales launch game. 2 years later,
Mm.
Spider-Man 2. It's like, huh, yeah, I guess that probably okay. Now I get it. That's big time priority, making sure that those things are constantly hitting, getting people in the door to your ecosystem. But it is a little bit of a bummer. Like, I can't lie. I would love to see Insomniac do something different. But anywho, man, where would you rank this damn Mr. Deadpool?
What's the lowest rank that we got?
The lowest rank that we have would be a D tier.
I'll put it in the detail. It would be like the highest possible point of D because of the writing and stuff like that. But it's just not a fun game to play. I did
Mm,
not enjoy my time with it. Whenever you're looking down at your phone, every time there's like a little lapse in the game and stuff like that, like it's not you're
yo.
not enjoying yourself.
Well, dude, I'll continue right off that because I have something that I feel very similarly about, and that is Just Cause 4. Um,
Ooh, interesting.
I don't dislike the game. I had a lot of fun with the gameplay. Yeah, I think it's an incredibly fun game to just play, like to just zone out as a thing to put on and play, and like not care about absolutely anything that's going on other than the action. But talking about like what you're saying there of okay, like let any lull. I'm looking at the phone. I'm not engaged whatsoever with what's going on in the story. Like, there were a couple cool moments in the story, but it's
Did, did you play free?
yeah. Three was
It's much better, right?
yeah. Well, it's much fucking more normal. Just Cause
Mm.
4 is like, I don't know what the hell they're doing with this game. It is brutally fucking difficult. Like, these crazy difficulty spikes out of nowhere, and The mission structure is
It's
bizarre.
bizarre. Yep. Every point of because I've tried to because I went through. I think it was like I've been 2 years ago because I didn't finish any of the Just Cause games, and I went through and did Just Cause 1, 2, 3, got to 4, and I kind of attribute. I was like, maybe it's burnout, and like because I've played them all in like a fairly short period of time, like an entire year, kind of back to back. But I went back like fairly recently. I was like, this game doesn't. What is going on here? Like, it's a very strange departure from free. And it doesn't seem to do anything better than free. It's a step down in most regards and stuff like that. Very weird game.
Yeah, it is, man. Because it's like on the surface, like all of the shit that they're trying to tout, like the whole, the tornadoes and the
Mm.
dynamic weather system, and then, but then it's like you'll fly a helicopter or plane through a tornado and either just completely be a okay, or you'll fly it through and immediately die. And it's like, there's nothing dynamic really about that at all. Like they have some somewhat decent, slightly more dynamic missions where there's a couple different possibilities for shit you can see, or I'm gonna take this path to go down into this elevator and now they locked it, and like, if I don't alert the enemies they won't lock the elevator, like, but there's no stealth mechanics to really fully utilize that. There's no like crouching, there's no cover system, there's no real way to play this other than to play it like you're fucking Sylvester Stallone in the Expendables. And like, I don't know. But don't get me wrong, once again, I in terms of the gameplay experience, I had a whole hell of a lot of fun, even with the weird difficulty spikes where there's like 7,000 grenades that are just flying at you at all
Mm.
times, and you're just having to zip line from. It is crackhead behavior. It is like straight up head on a swivel at all times. Just it's ridiculous the pace of this game at certain times during when they really spike that difficulty. But other than that, like I'm just having fun. I'm fucking using my grapple hook. I'm grappling from one enemy to the next. I'm popping them up in the air as a balloon, leaving them just hanging suspended, shooting them in the head, playing with my food. Like it, I don't know. It's just a fun video game to play, and sometimes that's enough to carry me through. Often with games like this, where I'm like, yeah, it's fun, I end up putting it down because I'm like, nothing's really changing. Like from hour 1 to hour whatever, 10, 11, 12, how many ever hours I put into this thing, n- not a lot really changed. Like it was pretty much the same game the entire time. But I just liked playing it. I liked playing the same game the entire time. And once again, this is all going to kind of come back to the fact that like I'm a sucker for these style of games. You can put me into any open world. I don't know if this is a crime sandbox, but you know what I'm saying. Games of this
Yeah,
ilk.
like a destruction set, like mercenaries and stuff like that.
Yep, exactly. The Saboteur, fucking
Mm.
anything of this ilk. Grand Theft Auto, anything where it's a chaos simulator. And like, I just like causing chaos in games like this. And then you see there the enemy AI just fucking absolutely bad shit, no intelligence whatsoever. But it's you know like you're fucking grappling onto a helicopter, throwing the pilot out of the helicopter, and just like manning down, gunning down an entire village of these different enemy factions who are trying to kill you. Like that's never not going to be fun. So I don't know. It's for me, I would place this bad boy probably in the. I mean, I would probably say C tier. I don't think it's a D tier game, but it's.
Yeah.
I would struggle to put it in the B tier.
Yeah, like you said, it's got the bones of Just Cause as to why, we love them previous games, but there was some weird I'd love to see somebody like peel back like the development of the game at some point in a video and be like, what happened? Because it was a weird point in time, right, when that came out with Square and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. That was kind of like restructuring, and they didn't know what they were doing. Funding, what was it? Outriders, I think, was one of them.
Yep.
And then they started de-shedding a lot of their Western studios, but they kept Just Cause, I believe, was one of the IPs that they kept. along with Outriders and then Life is Strange,
Yeah,
and then they kind of shed everything else.
yeah, and I think they were actually funding Just Cause 5 even in like 2022, 2023, somewhere around then. And then they ended up, I think it was Sumo Digital that they had working on
Mm.
it. And then they completely, just shuttered the game a couple years ago, unfortunately. But yeah,
Alrighty, go with King Arthur.
King Arthur.
Legion 9, this will be a quick one.
Cool.
Um, I hadn't planned on actually playing it this year because it took me, I think I said a few months back, ended up wrapping up King Arthur and Knight's Tale. Holy shit, that a Knight's Tale is like 40, 50 hours, 60 hours. Like it's a very long game, and it was the type of thing of like, I don't know why you made it that long. Like it's fun in what you're doing, but it becomes very long-winded and the mission objectives not really changing up and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's cool, these little story beats and stuff, but way, way too long of a game. It's nice when a developer listens because this runs you like 10 hours, which is the
Perfect.
perfect for a strategy RPG like this, turn-based. It's like, yeah, here's like 10, 15 missions and it's done with. Because the big thing as well with a Knight's Tale is they give you choice where things have different outcomes. I don't know who in their right mind is going to play 60 hours of that Knight's Tale and then be like, yeah, man, I want to do all of them random side quests all over again just to see the other. Like, there's no way. Whereas with Legion 9, it's take in the shoes of like a Roman general, and you're kind of it's almost like the story's running parallel with A Knight's Tale and stuff, so stuff kind of seeps over from that plot into this. But yeah, the big massive issue I had was pacing, and that's thankfully basically fixed. Like the missions are quicker as well; they're shorter, as well as being the overall campaign length is drastically shorter. So definitely glad to have that wrapped up. I love Neocore, and it's the type of thing of like what we was talking about with Bloober. I would love to see them be thrown a big amount of budget to see what they can do. Because I think I don't know this for certain, but from all of their games that I've played of them, Inquisitor Martyr is probably their biggest budget game that they've ever done.
Mm,
Probably Games Workshop funded, gave them a little bit of money with that, and even that's like you're on a tight leash budget with that, and it accomplishes quite a lot. I'd love to see them like be thrown like 30, 40, 50 million and see like what could they do. Because I
right.
feel like they've got a lot of creative spark in there, but a lot of it ends up coming back down to the same bones and stuff. And like, yeah, I love their games and stuff, but it's like I'd love to see what your next step is. You know, like Larian, for instance, was at that point in their career at some point, and then they took that next step. I would love to see that happen for Nyoko.
Totally. Yeah. Because you're looking at like, what's that upcoming, the sci-fi, Jesus Christ, Expanse from
Mm. Okay.
Outcat. And that is like, every time I look at that game, it's like astonishing. That is big, big budget. That's big money. And they're being funded by Wizards of the Coast for that, right? Or they're
I don't know. I don't know who owns The Expanse.
okay. Yeah, I know they got a
I
big
know
publisher
that the
on board.
Pathfinder games that they worked with, that's a break off from them. That's
Mm.
not Wizards of the Coast. That's I don't know who owns that. Can't remember. But
Yeah,
that
no,
was
that's
like a
fine.
thing. But yeah, I don't know who owns the Expanse. But it's like the thing. Whoever own like they're clearly giving them a bit of funding as well as
Oh
all
yeah.
of their previous success. I'm sure has accrued a nice, comfortable amount of money to allow them to be a lot more ambitious because this isn't like anything else they've ever made.
Well, I assume they're not funding it at all. The Expanse game. I would assume it's being 100% funded by whoever's publishing it, which, that's traditional. It's it's just like, that's crazy budget. Once again, I could be wrong, whenever that thing ends up coming out, and maybe it is lower budget than we expect, but like from what we're seeing, it's like that looks full blown AAA action RPG. It's crazy to see what a studio can do when they're given a real Clockwork Revolution, another great example.
Mm.
It's like holy shit, man, that's big money, but you got to have a big money partner behind you. Which that's the difficult part, especially in this age of like trying to mitigate and trying to avoid risk at all cost. Like, yeah, it's tough to get that type of
You
funding.
you just gotta keep your head down. That's what it feels like. Like a lot of these success stories are people who have, because that's the thing is like it's difficult now to ask for a lot of money if you're inconsistent. With Owlcat, like they can turn around and go, yeah, like Kingmaker was kind of a bit of a wobble and stuff like that, but it was a fairly high quality product, all things considered for what it was doing. And then Wrath of the Righteous was incredible, as well as Rogue Trader. Like they have that kind of thing where it's like you can puff your chest. The same with Larian now, they can puff their chest. FromSoft, the Dark Souls side of that,
Yeah.
they were in that same thing where it's like people weren't sure with Demon Souls and the original Dark Souls and stuff, whether or not it was going to be as successful as it ended up being. But they can go into any publishing branch in the world now and just be like, I have this idea, and they're like, yeah, sure,
Well, I
because it's
mean,
the name alone will sell it.
you literally see that they got fucking Nintendo to pay for an
Yeah.
exclusive game.
So that's I'm hoping that what they do they succeed at because it would be nice to just have another a name like that on the board of just they're very passionate in what they do. So really can't wait to see that Expanse game.
Absolutely, man. But where would you rank it?
Legion Knight, I'll put B. I'll put it in the B tier. I think it's the type of thing of like it's not as compelling as other tactical games can be, um, but is the pacing is incredible. It's a very very good game.
Dude, I gotta hear you talk about Sifu. I think that's the thing I'm the most curious about because we were talking about it before, and you were like, "Yeah, it took me about 4 hours to finish." I was like, "What the fuck?" That
See,
is
that's the thing. I don't. It says 3 hours and 29 minutes. I don't know
what
if
the
that's count.
fuck.
I don't. I don't know if that. This is the thing. Sometimes Xbox doesn't count it, but it was definitely not. It was done in the night. I know that for certain. I took a break. believe I started at like 10 o'clock at night. Took a break, had something to eat, and then it was like wrapped up by like 3 in the morning. So whatever that time window looked like.
That is
I
insane.
because it's probably going to show in the early footage clips. Like there was definitely learning curves of things, like getting hit unnecessarily and stuff. But like every now and then, because it happened with Dark Souls 3 as well. I remember being on like Udex Gundyr for a little bit, and then things just click into place. And it was in them later missions, things like you're just flowing so flawlessly, not getting hit, not taking damage, just absolutely wrecking rooms, and it's very addictive that game. Um, I wish I probably would have got better footage for it. But yeah, I didn't find it particularly challenging other than the final two bosses. They were probably where I was bashing my head across the room a lot, it felt like. Um the female and then the final boss. The final boss as well I have a very big nitpick of. When you have a game like that, where it gives you tools, resources, skills, and options, and then it disables it for the final thing. That's really poor design in my eyes. It's the type of thing of like you're training the player to utilize stuff and get good with this kind of stuff, and then it's just like, yeah, and for the final climax, you're not allowed to, utilize everything the game has to offer. It's just like, well, it's kind of shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, that is crazy that you were able to get through that damn game so quick. That took me at least like 10 hours or so to finish it.
Were you exploring a lot of it as well? Because what I began to notice is that I think there's a lot of like side paths, and I
Ah,
think it's that type of thing where maybe it's a like I would just dice rolled it as well, pretty good of just beelining it stuff. Like I didn't watch any playthrough of it. I had no idea where I was going, but there was certain things where it was like, oh, that's like a side area. Was that feels like? because it gives you like a little power up thing or whatever as you get thrown into a room and you're beating people up. And I didn't do all that many of them. I bumped into a few of them in the early game and then kind of just didn't run into any more really later on in the game. Like
Yeah,
when you were in the there's like an office space kind of thing. Like that was wholly done in like one fit. Like nothing really stopped during that. It was kind of weird.
yeah. I don't really remember doing much side stuff, so I don't think I did either. I found this shit hard. I mean, which, no surprise, I find a lot of shit hard, but it's yeah. I wonder what. Maybe I'm just way the fuck off. What is the? I guess we can look it up. I wonder what the average playtime is for this fucking thing. Because I know it had to have taken me Sifu how long to beat. It had to have taken me at least 10 hours. It's saying beating Sifu can take anywhere from 8 to 15 hours for a first time playthrough, focusing on the main story, da 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 da. So, yeah, you definitely finish that shit much quicker than the average
It is
person.
weird because when I look at some estimates of stuff and I look back on it, because upcoming what are we talking about Stalker 2 as well. Like that took me way longer and I was only focusing on main shit. I wasn't
Mm.
dipping into side stuff and it's just like I it is weird how things vary. Um but that's just obviously it's averages, isn't it? Is what that's pulling from.
Yeah, it's
But yeah.
I fucking love this game, man. Just even like
Mm.
watching the gameplay footage of it, I'm just like, God, I'd be so down to play another one of these. Which, don't get me wrong, I think rematch is probably a smarter direction for them to go in. But
Mm.
what?
He said it's struggling big time. They've kind of messed up putting patches out for it. They're kind of scrambling with that.
No, but it's a paid for game, so they're straight. They had that whatever fucking 100+ thousand concurrent player count, and it's what is it, $40?
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's
It's
not
the
a
type of
thing of like
thing. Yeah,
it's not like a
that's
Fortnite.
with them live service things. You're wanting to also like that first bit of rake in money's good, but you want to be charging people the next year and the next year and the next year. And if you're fucking up updates this quick and people drop out, that's how live service games kind of heavily die. So
Yeah, but it's still like if you were to, let's see, if we go to Sifu Steam DB, um, I wonder because I would still assume that rematch. Yeah, man. Sifu peaked at 3,189 players. Um, let me. That way I can show the audience. Whoa, dude, that's trippy. My mouse is working on my damn iPad from my MacBook. Um, hold on one second. I can show the audience. So, yeah, Sifu peaked around 3,189 players. Like that was the peak concurrent player count for Sifu. And then if we go to rematch,
what's its current as well for rematch out of
rematch's
curiosity?
current is more than double Sifu's peak. So rematch right now is at 8,790. It peaked at 92,841 players. So it's still much, 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 much more lucrative for them than Sifu. But
Hmm.
from a personal standpoint, like yeah, I'd be so down to get more Sifu. Once again, I get it. Like I get it if we don't. After seeing the difference there, like I would understand them wanting to like make a rematch too. Um, but damn, Sifu is so fucking good.
Yep. And I'll throw that in the A tier.
A tier. Do, 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 do. Sifu going into the A tier. All right. Well, shit, dude. I only have one more game left, so if you want to go ahead and hit.
Yeah, I'll knock out Call of Duty
All
because
right.
it was, as Christopher Judge said, very damn short. Um, a very weird thing because it was I didn't pick this up. I enjoyed the reboot of Modern Warfare 1 and I think Modern Warfare 2 I picked up at launch. I didn't bother picking up 3. Kind of just got over that phase of like, okay, yeah, you're kind of doing the same thing again. Kind of seen it here before. They end up adding it to Game Pass not so long back, maybe a few months or a few weeks. So I was like, yeah, fine. Like I don't want to pay money for this, but I'll happily jump in and like knock out the campaign. Holy shit, that campaign is he wasn't joking. Not only is it incredibly, incredibly short, like you're talking about them original 3 Modern Warfare games had fairly, meaty campaigns, like what you'd expect, 6 to 8 hours. They also had an ending in each of the games. They've not really done anything, and even to this end of the reboot of that third game, there's no ending. So I don't. Are they planning on making this a full fifth, sixth? Like, is this just going to be constantly like churned out? Like, you get to the end of it, and then it's just like, yeah, and that happened, and then just cuts the credits, and it's just like, what the really? That's where we're going. That was. I was hoping that they would have just tied everything up and just, all right, we'll move on. Like we've done what we've done there. Cool. But they didn't. But other than that, it's the classic thing of like the gunplay is incredible as it has been since Modern Warfare 2019. Like their Infinity Ward gunplay is for me a step above Treyarch's. Like they just with them being so much more grounded in realism, there's just a snappy and a crispness to it that there isn't. Like the Treyarch ones feel a little bit more arcadey in comparison to Infinity Ward. And I'm just more of a what do you call it? Um, like a more modern military fan than I am with the plot lines that they go with in the Treyarch games. But I can appreciate, if that's the other way around for a lot of people, which it seems like it is. But yeah, I if I would have paid full price for this at launch, I'd have been pissed. Like it's very anemic in what it does, and also the weirdest thing because I don't think that they did this in Modern Warfare 2. There's a bunch of mission layouts as if it's a Warzone match. So they drop you in via a parachute and stuff, and then you're foraging gear in the mission itself rather than what you'd expect from a Call of Duty campaign where you're just spawning in, you have a rifle with a pistol, get on with it, kind of thing. It's very strange that they have you doing side objectives and cracking open doors and stuff like that. Like I don't know, it's maybe that's just the old blood in me being like, this feels wrong. This isn't the Call of Duty I know and love. But it felt just out of place in a Call of Duty campaign doing that kind of stuff, especially executed in the way they did it. Because what I will give them credit in them Treyarch games, I played a little bit of what was the one that you said you liked the other year? One of
Six.
the Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
There are ways of doing it in that kind of way, and they did that well in that game. When you have that, you go to like the politician thing where you're
Hmm.
talking to yeah, that's cool. Well, that's gimmicky and stuff, and you're doing little side objectives, but it all makes sense. Dropping you in as if it is a Warzone match, and it was just very bizarre. And there's like half of the campaign is that, and it's just like, yeah, that this didn't feel particularly amazing.
All right.
Felt like it feels like the executives walked in as they were beginning to make the game and they're like, well, when they're going to boot up Warzone, that's not the experience they get. Can you like sprinkle this in so that we can ease them into it so they know exactly what they're going to be doing when they get, and they're like, well, that's probably a stupid idea. And they're like, well, we're analysts. We know what we're talking about. We
Yeah.
know. We smell the money. And yeah, it's a very, yeah, conflicted identity of a game. Very strange.
That is one thing I'm kind of bummed out about with selling my Series X is like, and now that I don't have that other computer, and the Mac is notoriously not a great gaming computer. It's like shit. I don't have really. I guess I could get Game Pass through my phone and do everything through streaming or whatever, but it's like I really don't want to play a Call of Duty game through streaming, which I've even with fiber optic internet and all that. Like I
No,
have tried streaming and it's
anything high
still.
pace, it's so chuggy.
I was
Because even
playing.
with my internet and stuff, like it's unplayable. A lot of titles like F1 and stuff, anything that requires decision making that's quick, like anything that can just switch at the blink of an eye and stuff, it just doesn't work well.
I was playing a damn PlayStation 3 game through streaming, and it was rough. I was just like, this. We're never gonna get there, at least not probably not in my lifetime. But because I'm talking about 1,000, megabit per second fucking speed up and down, or I mean 100. Wait, no, 1,000. Yeah, 1G. Right. Yeah. So 1,000 up, 1,000 down. Like that's if you can't stream games at a like solid frame rate and without dipping and without having these major issues in the buffering, like then it's never gonna happen or at least not probably in my lifetime, because we're still at a
Yeah.
point where like most people aren't even close to fucking fiber optic internet speeds. So
There's
it's
just so many factors as well because I don't know if this is still the case. If I remember correctly, when they launched that cloud system as well, it was whatever they were running their data centers was all running it off of Series S's as well. It wasn't Series X's because why would you pay more money on Microsoft's part when you can just do it with a weaker system that's compatible and stuff like that. So there's yeah, they're always going to try and cut corners, and in something like that, it definitely feels like more than anything you can't cut corners because it's immediately noticeable. Any
mm,
corners that they cut on their side will be felt 10 times on the customer's side.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just, every now and then you roll out this initiative and it seems like it's going to be the future and it ends up not being. And it's like, I guess you got to make those fucking bets. You got to try to be ahead of the future before the future gets ahead of you. So
mm,
playing catch up with the future is dangerous. But where would you rank the old
C,
Call of
put it in
Duty?
C.
C tier for Modern Warfare. All right. Um, so then we leave Heading Out and Stalker 2. I'll quickly throw a ranking on Heading Out, talk about this, or I talked about it on the show a couple
I
weeks
think I've
ago.
heard of this. Let's look it up.
I'll throw it in the B tier for Heading Out. I think this is a really good game. It is a game kind of like we've talked about many times in the
Mm,
past, where I would really just like to play a game where you drive around but you have a story. And this is a game where you drive around and you have a story. And that's kind of the entire thing. You're running from your fear, and there's an actual like mapping system of your fear tracking you on this map of the nation. And if the fear catches up to you, you have to outrun it in a race. And but like the story is actually really really good. It's like a decision based story where you go to these different towns and you're like a local celebrity, and people have heard about you and they're talking about you on the radio, and you were like this famous racer who died in a crash. And so the
mm,
entire game is about like trying to get back to that race and win the race to where you don't die in the crash. And like that's the whole idea of the fear system. The fear is like that's what you're the most scared of yourself in this moment, and not having the ability to overcome, the pretty much you run, and this isn't really a spoiler, you run head on into like there's a like a roadblock, and you run head on into the roadblock and you end up dying. And so you go back to this race, and a big part of the game is like trying to make the quick decision to not run head on into that roadblock while you're in the race. And I won't go into anything beyond that of why there's difficulty associated with that, but that's kind of like the end of the game, was this big reveal that I wasn't really expecting to hit on an emotional level. And like, I don't know, it's a really really pretty ending, like a really pretty ending that has an impactful kind of message. Just I don't even, yeah, well, we'll leave it there. I don't want to go into even what I took away from the end of the
mm.
the message, because I think that'll pretty much spoil what happens at the end. But It's very, very impactful. Like one of those games that'll kind of, you know, it'll make you think and get a little bit retrospective for sure about, yeah. But anywho, it's cool in
It,
terms of like, go ahead.
it's nice when you get blindsided by something like that as well, when it's something that presents itself as being fairly simple, and
Mm,
you're seeing all these systems in playing, like, man, it's kind of fun, and you're enjoying it, and then you get hit by something that's really emotional. It's like,
yeah.
damn. Because I'm assuming you probably wasn't expecting it to hit as hard as it did, whatever it was. It's the type of thing of like, that's kind of cool to
Right.
be surprised in that manner.
Well, and another big thing is like it's actually much more complex than I was expecting just in terms of like base systems in general for the gameplay where like I said you have the whole map, but there's also it's kind of like a sim game where you can press like R2 while you're on the map and you'll speed up. So you think everything's just being automated, but you can actually like speed up the car. And but if you speed up the car, then you deplete fuel more
Mm.
quickly. And so you're also having to manage your resources, your fuel, your like you will get, like you have to take sleeping pills and shit like that if you've been driving too long. You have to go into the hotel and rest and there's like different, everything costs money. So if you don't have enough money to buy the hotel, well fuck, you're back out on the road, so you better hope you have enough money to buy a sleeping pill and it's like there's some pretty cool shit in here.
It's just that's where indie games really shine, where AAA can't really touch them in that manner, is where it's pulling all these really simple systems, tying them up in a bundle together, and just having it work. Because it kind of reminds me of like the thing of you would never have seen a AAA developer make Papers, Please
All right.
and stuff like that. Of like that, they just wouldn't ever. That wouldn't you wouldn't be able to present that in a board meeting and then that get greenlit as a project. But somehow an indie game, they don't have to adhere to that. They can make their artistic interpretation on something and then add these gameplay mechanics where something that on the surface would look, you know, really benign and kind of, bland. It's just a paperwork simulator kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to it, and there is an enjoyable thing to be doing, like a power wash simulator and stuff like that. Like there's these things, and this sounds like that because I think I actually saw this on the store the other week. Um, so I'll be definitely adding it to the wish list now because that sound because the cover art looked really cool as well. Um, but hearing you say it sounds like a very fun experience, very
Yeah,
unique.
and I don't want to oversell it too much. Like it is mostly like there is actually good voice acting in it and shit, and it, like it has way more going on in terms of production value than you would expect. But by and large, like I don't want to present the story as anything other than like a point and click, not point and click, but like a still image visual
Hmm.
novel sort of thing. It's more so in that realm than it's more so in that realm than like a telltale style thing. It's nothing like that. When you're making your choices, it is pretty much like, okay, here's the narrator will present, and it'll be like cool scenarios where you're in a bar and there's this chick who's hitting on you, but she seems to like she was with this other group before she came over and was hitting on you, and you're like, huh, those dudes over there, I wonder if they're like setting her up to like all of these like different kind of scenarios of like I wonder if they're about to take me for a ride, or I wonder if they're about to jump me, or I wonder, and like scenarios like that can play out where you get jumped and your money gets stolen and different stuff like that. But once again, it's all taking place through a narration of this, pretty much telling you what happened opposed to you seeing anything that happened. And it has like decent art, decent visuals, but
Mm.
it is an indie game. And then you'll see like a lot of reused sort of voice lines for some of the different drivers you'll run up against in the open world. And so it has the limitations that are very noticeable, but for a 7 hour, 8 hour, it has some meat on it. Like it's pushing over 5 hours. I don't remember the exact count, but I assume I played more than 5 hours of this thing. And a decent degree of challenge at certain times. It's not overly difficult, but you get different cars throughout, and you have to, make sure that you're using like the higher performing cars for the higher performing races. And, as you go later in the game, you want to make sure that you have the best cars available, and all of that stuff's really streamlined. It's a fairly streamlined game with like a lot of, like, you see all the different stuff that's going on in the menu screen right here, but it has a lot going on, but it's never overwhelming at all. So, yeah, I'll throw that in the B tier. I liked it a lot.
Good.
And so that leaves you with Stalker 2.
Yep. My the game I voted as my biggest disappointment of last year.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, that's right.
mm, Picked it up. I think we ran into similar like early scenarios with like the game was unbelievably dark,
Yeah.
like unbelievably dark, and it's just like I get it, definitely intense and stuff. So it's had a few patches. They fixed certain things and other things still haven't been fixed. What I had to actually do, because it was the type of thing of like I do want like I like the aesthetic of Stalker. I like that my favorite book of all time is Roadside Picnic. So I like this as a setting. I want to experience it, but it's frustrating to experience on like a base level. So what I had to actually do is I don't think I've ever had to do this before. I had to actually tweak the TV settings. So I don't know if the footage looks a bit funky and stuff like that. I don't know if that pulls through on the
No, it
capture
looks
card and
good.
stuff like that. But I had to just sit there for about 30 minutes as if it's a PC and tweak, tweak. All right, add extra con and just do that. And it was like, okay, this I can play this now. Cool. Annoyingly, 1.6 just launched and they've added night vision goggles, so that would have been nice to have a week ago. But here we are. Um, but yeah, it's an incredible, incredible game. Like, there's nothing that gets it this way. Like, it has so many like things that like Starfield had missing. Like, with you go into a random location and it's handcrafted. There'll be bodies or notes strewn around the place telling you an environmental storytelling. And if you're very, and with Stalker as well, unlike say Bethesda, like Bethesda will just, oh, you did the end of the dungeon, here you go. Here's a unique weapon in a chest, or his unique weapon on a body. Like sometimes they get really creative. Like you can clear an entire thing, and there is a unique weapon in there, but you need to find it yourself. Like they're stalkers for a reason. Like they've hidden their stashes in really dark, tucked away corners and stuff like that. So that's very rewarding. Um, Really cool choice and consequence with who you choose to side with as well throughout the game. Um, you get given the opportunity to basically work alongside the stalkers or work alongside like the military, basically. And it's up to you to determine whether or not you think it's morally right to be siding with the military because it makes sense. If we were living in, say, our world and that was a thing that existed, would you really want somewhere in the world where it just there's random shit like that going on, like lightning strikes forming out of water and stuff like that, or tornadoes just popping up and blow it? Like, of course, you would want to probably get that shit under control and
Yeah.
stuff. Whereas the stalkers are like, no, this is like we're outcasts and we feel like we don't fit into society. We live in the zone because that's our way of life. Like we get left alone. We just want to be alone
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So it's a really cool narrative from that, and they give you like plenty of choice. Like you can choose characters dying, outcomes like that, and there's definitely replayability if you want it. Going through zones and stuff like because ended up siding with the military, which felt like it was a very easy option as well because they give you a badge which you can basically flash at most military checkpoints and they just let you through. Whereas if you was siding with the stalkers, you'd have to be stealthing through these military encampments and stuff like that. Gunfights are intense. I don't really want to be doing that when one bullet can literally mean life or death. Um, but yeah, definitely enjoyed it a hell of a lot more this time around. The only problem I had with it is its mission structure. Is places a waypoint 2.5 kilometers away. You run there and you run back. You run there, you run back, and it's I think about 50 to 60 hours of that. Like that's the backbone of it. And like I don't actually enjoy the aspect of the overworld exploration in the woods and stuff like that. It doesn't feel good because it's hard to see people. Their AI is brain dead, but like when you get into the gunfights, like they're dumb as shit, but they can beam you through bushes. Like they don't have to have line of sight. Like they can shoot you through objects, but they're also thick. Like it's so weird. Like you was talking about with Just Cause and stuff. Like, it just feels like it's a dice roll every time you get into a gunfight, whether or not they have their brain switched on. So they do still need to tweak that AI and stuff. But where the game truly shines is when you go into like an underground bunker, really intense, because the lighting doesn't matter as much down there because it feels right that it's dark. And they've got the lighting figure out with the torches and stuff like that, and then you round a corner and there's a mutant there and it's nice and gets the blood pounding. And them kind of firefights where you're leaning and you're having to use the environment like that's where to me the game is running at all cylinders and is an S tier game. Unfortunately, it gets dragged down by the overworld stuff, which I don't care for, and the terrible human AI when it's out there in that open world. Like they're just so stupid.
So are you saying A tier? Or
Yeah,
okay.
I'll go A2. It's it's a project for them as well, where they're going to be building on it for years to come. You can definitely feel that this was extremely ambitious. We all know the development woes that went through with the game with where they were located,
Of
and at
course.
the time of that location, it's incredible that they got it out at all, and in the state that they got it out in at all as well. So yeah, this game in like 3, 4 years' time is going to probably be looked back on, and I could see it being held in as high reverence of, say, what Cyberpunk is held to now for the common majority. It's not going to obviously have sold as many copies of Cyberpunk, but the general consensus will be up there.
It's so funny. I was watching the gameplay that you had, and I don't know if you're this way, but it is so frustrating to me where there was a section where you were trying to figure out your way into this loft, and you're like jumping up and trying to grab onto a roof or a ledge or whatever, and it's like we made the most immersive sim where
I
all the
had
real world attributes and all the things you would do in the real world will be simulated in this game. It's like, oh well, except for grabbing ledges.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I didn't mention it in the Discord when I bitched about it. But when I was in a, because I knew I mentioned it at some point, it was with a friend in a call while I was playing it, and I was giving my because he also played it and bounced off of it. And he was like, is it worth going back in? And I was giving him like the rundown and stuff. And I was like, but one of my biggest irks that I'm having is they've added this really cool mantling system. So you can mantle things at waist height and you
Oh,
can
that's
climb
even
ladders and stuff.
worse.
But what the fuck? You don't grab up and pull yourself up. And it's the type of thing as well of like, you can't say it's down to realism because you're hulking like you can hulk like 15 assault rifles in your backpack and jump
Right.
around like a fucking lunatic. Like just add that mantling system from that and pull you up.
Well, I mean, that is
Especially as well
realistic.
with especially well with they put so much verticality into the exploration as well.
That'd be so
You don't
fun.
think, yeah, you don't think that that game does want you to do it, but so many stashes are on rooftops.
Right.
They're up in attics. They're up like completely out of the way. You have to jump onto a car to jump onto a massive barrel to then jump onto a gas canister to get up to somewhere. It's like, can I
Dude,
just have like a mantle, please?
that's like, I think sometimes, when everybody talks next gen and it's like the conversation immediately becomes like 8K, 120, 4K, 60, whatever, technical performance related issue that you want to discuss. But a big thing for me is like, that level of interactivity, that level of agency of like, imagine in that scenario right there where I don't know, like, can you knock on different parts of the roof or something, or of a wall, and find a soft spot in the wall, and then have a device
Mm,
that like cuts through the wall, and then grab onto it, and have like
exactly.
700 different ways to just do this one small thing? To me, that is like something that feels so, like when I was playing through Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, this feels like one of the most next gen games because it's just giving me so much freedom in how I can figure things out. And like I don't know, stuff like that just we're so obsessed with visual fidelity, and I love a
Mm.
fucking great looking game. Everybody loves a great looking game. I'm never gonna turn that down. But it's like if you give me the option of a game that is just loaded with crazy interactive scenarios that I never would have thought about, or another great looking game, it's like, well, I've played a lot of great looking games. I haven't played many games that allow me to really, take. But it's the thing too where the problem is like a lot of games that tout that as like a core feature of immersive sim whatever. It's like you're simulating immersion the way you want to, but you're not really simulating immersion fully in the way that, like, if it can be done this way, we're allowing you to do it that way. And I understand that just even saying that is like, well, how the fuck, we only have so much money, so much time. We can't account for every single scenario for you to grab this one little, you know, uh, uh,
Yeah,
fucking gun or weapon that's on this loft.
but it does feel like we've stalled though, right?
For
Big
sure.
time. Because they've chosen to go down the graphical fidelity route. Because you think back of, I know well, me in particular, like I throw so much praise at Deus Ex Human Revolution. If a 360 game can give you that much choice of picking up a fridge, to find a
Right.
vent, to punch through a wall, to do that, to jump up and stuff like if they can do that on a 360, why have we don't have that anymore?
Yeah.
Like the majority of games don't offer that anymore. Like that would, as you said, and something as well what irked me. Like you've opened the floodgates of critique now. It is very stealth oriented with the game. Like you want to be limiting yourself from getting into actual firefight engagements, especially later on in the game, because every time you're getting hit by a bullet, like it's not going to kill you when you're like 30 hours in, because you're kitted out to fucking teeth with armor. But the durability of your armor will go down. That costs money to repair, as does every time you fire a gun, costs money to repair. So you're constantly being forced to go back to these camps and repair this stuff. You have a bolt, right? Which you use to throw into anomalies
Oh yeah,
to
yeah.
trigger them, to then you can say, can you use that to throw and distract? Nope, nope, nope. I sat there because I even because the AIs just sometimes they just don't switch on their mind. I just sat there for probably about 10 minutes just laughing to myself because I was throwing it at the guy's face from around a corner.
Right.
No reaction whatsoever, and it's just like such an immersive game. But when you have something like that happens, and it pulls you out. It's just
Bro,
like,
I remember with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I sat there so frustrated that I couldn't just dagger my sword into an enemy's leg. Like it bothered me so much because it's such a cool idea to have a game where like you literally can end a fight with one swing of that sword if you swing it properly. And like I loved that in Bushido Blade back, on the PlayStation 1. That idea is so fucking innovative and like that is such a cool concept. But if every single fight that enemy is leaving his legs wide open, what would you do? You would try to dagger that sword through that enemy's leg. He drops down, and then you chop that bitch's head off.
because it's probably extremely unarmored as well. Because it's so good
Right.
that you point out. Like I remember that happening in Sifu. That was one of the finishes when you have the blade. You
Mm-hmm.
cut the artery in their leg and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and it's just like, yeah, I couldn't because it pulls you out because the game presents his choice, choice, choice. You can do so many different things, and then it's when you're the player and you put yourself into that scenario, and then you meet something where you try it and you just basically get hit with like, no, we didn't think of that. It's one of the worst feelings in a game where it offers so much choice and freedom in tackling a task.
But it's like, I guess the counterpoint would be to give Stalker and Kingdom Come 2 some praise. Is like they thought about a whole lot more than
Oh yeah,
99% of other developers. So it's like
yeah,
praise, kudos, all that to
absolutely.
y'all. But it's the thing about great games. Everybody's gonna have a nitpick about every game, no matter how great it is. So
But I will leave it on a positive as well. What we was talking about, linking it straight back to Metal Gear Solid in the very beginning. Metal Gear Solid has loading screens between its areas. The Stalker trilogy that they put out had loading screens when you're going through the areas. Dude, the entirety of Stalker 2's map is open. So it's the same map from that original Stalker game because you're going to the same locations. They've just prettied them up and everything. But when you're transitioning into them regions, seamless. And that kind of blew me away when that happened because when I was looking, I was like, Jesus Christ, like it is really impressive that you've managed to get this running as well as it is with
Right.
all of this weather effect, the amount of foliage in the up like in the above ground areas and stuff that
Mm.
you're exploring and how many people and how many mutants are inhabiting this and stuff like that. And there's no loading screens to go into settlements and stuff like that. Like it crashed 3 times, I think. And two of them crashes were during stuff where it was an in-engine cutscene teleporting your character to somewhere else. And it's just like I can forgive that. Like the amount of shit that's going on in this game and in that cutscene, I'm not surprised the Xbox was like, no, I'm freaking out, shut down and
Yeah.
boot you back. Like that obviously is something that they need to fix, but hey man,
Well,
free crashes in a game of that ambition and that big of a world, like that's pretty good.
for sure. Yeah, and it's like I saw a lot of people talking about crashes in Metal Gear Solid 3 and the shader compilation issues and all that shit with Unreal Engine 5 and which you know, that's every single Unreal Engine 5 game except actually I don't think
Dying Light, the Beast,
dude, I
is
want to play
getting
that
a lot of
so
praise.
bad. Oh my
I
god,
think
I
that's
want to
an
play that
Unreal
so bad.
Engine.
I think that also Chronos is an Unreal Engine 5 game, if I'm not mistaken, and that motherfucker was butter. I could be wrong in that, but I'm pretty sure Chronos. It's like yeah. Um.
It is weird that some of the games are having such high, like the Borderlands 4 as well, having major teething issues to the point where they've said that they've suspended the Switch 2 release.
Yeah. So I think it is Unreal Engine 5 for
Mm.
yeah. The game is built on Unreal Engine 5. So that's once again just. But Chronos is a much, 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 much more limited, restrained. But so is Metal Gear Solid 3. So yeah, it is what it is. But Loon, I appreciate you joining me for this ranking. What would your game of the month be if you had to pick one game of the month? What would you kind of bring towards the top of that A tier?
I'd probably say Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Cool. So we'll.
It's the thing of like I've been wanting it for so long to be able to experience it and being able to experience it in its original state and not feel bulked down by
Right.
movement issues. It's just like that's perfect for me, man.
Right.
That's all I need. Like I get it because there was when it came out, there was obviously as you'd expect comparison videos of like this has lost its artistic flair here and there, and that's that. I don't like that chain. It's like yeah, I can understand that. That it's always going to be the thing of like older games just have that little bit of I don't know what like it's always going to remain special in its original
Hmm.
form. But it's a game at the end of the day, and I would like to enjoy playing the game, which is what is probably most important to me.
Yeah, I was listening to an old podcast. I've told you about this, but I listened to all the old Game Informer podcasts. It's my favorite podcast ever, and I go back and listen to the old episodes all the time. And there was a debate where they were in the office talking about how one person was like, I don't think most NES games hold up because if I was to give them to somebody who wasn't around in that era, they wouldn't enjoy them. And then the other person was like, well, that's not the barometer for if something holds up or not. The barometer should be like if you would go back to it and still enjoy it yourself. And it's like, well, I kind of disagree with that. It's like that wouldn't be the barometer because you already have some built in history with that thing. I think the barometer would be of giving it to someone who's never played it and see if they are able to enjoy it because there's no built in history at all, you know?
Yeah, it's a wide range because you could say, for instance, as an example, if you only played RE with tank based, but you never played Silent Hill, you would probably be able to be given Silent Hill, and because you have that experience with RE, you'd be able to get through it much easier than if it was handed to me, for
Mm.
instance. So I can kind of get what they're saying if it's coming at it from that angle. But when you're looking at it for like gaming moving forward, no, absolutely not. Because if you gave if you gave 10 brand new children a Switch 2 and told them to play Mario 64, and gave them a brand new Nintendo game, like they're gonna prefer that brand new Nintendo game. I don't think any
Mm,
of them would choose 64 over it because it's just so it
arcade.
doesn't hold up,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And it's just how it is. Like giving somebody Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
Hmm.
If you have that built-in nostalgia, you may lean towards that 7 Remake, or if you like turn-based tactical games, but for the majority of people, they would just rather play something that they just would enjoy a moment to moment more.
Yeah. Yeah. I always, I'm always baffled by like when I hear the arguments of, we don't need to remake Resident Evil 1. We don't need to remake Metal Gear Solid 3. It's like, dude, hey, I've said it 100 times, so there's no need to repeat it. But it is just kind of like, man, it's such a
I
selfish way to view the world where it's like things should just remain how I want it and not remain or not open up to the possibility that other people want it differently.
I would love for them to, and this will never happen on like a wider scale thing, but what they're doing with Final Fantasy Tactics, they're packing in the original game if you want to play it,
Right.
and the remastered thing, whatever they're doing, the changes that they make. Like give that's the perfect thing. Is it
Hmm.
really like I don't it would cost resources to just give a port alongside it, of course, but I don't think it's as demanding as they kind of put it out to be. Like, I think if they did that Metal Gear Solid 3 thing and bundled in just normal Metal Gear Solid 3 on top of it, with it, and being like, if you want to play the original, there you go
Well,
with it. I don't think it would have been that difficult.
that's the thing as well, dude, where it's like, just sell them. Don't even do it for free. Just sell them. Do a Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection style thing, and just
Mm.
sell. Keep your old games, viable. Because I mean, that Legacy Collection I think sold over 1 million copies already. Like that's just three old or I guess 5 old games. Um, Pretty much just 1-to-1 ports. Not a whole lot of. I mean, there's some little bells and whistles, but it's pretty much just old ports. And like, yeah, dude, sell
I'm
that
just
shit.
I'm envisioning as well because you have the people that, like it doesn't need to be remade because it holds up well. Them original Metal Gear games where it was the
Oh
side
Jesus.
scrolling. It's just like, oh, do they hold up well?
Right.
Is that like where do you draw the line?
You draw the line wherever you grew up. That's where everyone draws the
Exactly, and that's
line.
the thing because you could have grown up with Metal Gear Solid 1 and been like, no, they don't hold up, but Metal Gear Solid 1 does hold up.
Hmm.
And then you hand it to me and it's like, no, it bloody well doesn't. Looks terrible.
Exactly.
Plays terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, nostalgia's
Whatever
a hell of a thing.
it is, and that's we've talked about it before with like Grand Theft Auto 3, where it's like I'll never. There's no world where I'm ever gonna recommend Grand Theft Auto 3 before Grand Theft Auto 4 or 5 or it's like that's so that would be doing such a crime to anybody who might possibly enjoy that franchise. Like if that's their first time jumping into Grand Theft Auto in 2025, it's like
It,
they're never going to want to jump into another one.
I was about to say it can lock them out of an IP that you love because
Hmm.
you can't set that bias aside.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But all right, dude. Well, I appreciate the conversation, and we'll hop on over to your channel. And obviously, Loon's channel will be plugged in the description. So go and check out Loon's channel. We have done a couple videos over there, and I actually pulled it up here. So you got the 5 games you'd like to go back to before the year ends. That's available now. The 2025 Game Awards predictions, which Loon I think has a great fucking roster of predictions on that one. I think he might have nailed that spot on. And then we have games that would have done better on a different console, and just we've been making some shit over there. So go ahead and subscribe to Loon's channel, check that out, and we're about to do 3 games that you enjoyed more when going back to it a second time, right?
Yeah, basically, because with me playing Stalker 2, being disappointed, it was kind of when we jump on, it's usually something that's relevant to what I'm doing, is
Mm,
what kind of spurns that thing like with the Helldivers 2 release was what would games do better on different platforms, and for this it was, mood is very important in games.
Right.
So going back and like being in the right frame of mind and mood to enjoy something, because it does. I just enjoyed Stalker 2 a hell of a lot more this time.
Right. Yep. Well, shit, yeah, dude. That is that is going to be the move. We're gonna go record that right now. So stay tuned to Loon's channel. Make sure to subscribe. Check that out, and we shall be back at you with more content very, very soon. So take it easy, guys, and yeah. Hope y'all have a good. Well, I don't know when this is coming out. Hope y'all have a good week. I'll say, but appreciate y'all. See you soon. Goodbye.
See you later.
All right.